We begin the program in Sioux Center, Iowa, and our guest is one of the front runners in the Iowa caucuses, Republican Ron Paul, a Texas congressman. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You are in the crosshairs. John Huntsman, the Union leader, are attacking you in New Hampshire. Michelle Bachmann and Rick Santorum are assailing what they call your dangerous foreign policy in Iowa. Is all this taking a toll?
Well, I don't think so, because, you know, I talk about this and I say, you know, I'm a strict constitutionalist. I want to balance the budget. I want to cut spending. I don't want to go to war unless we declare the wars. I want to protect civil liberties. And I figure, what's dangerous about that? You know, that seems strange that that's dangerous to obey the Constitution and always vote against big spending and big government. Sounds like conservatives should agree with me.
You're actually taking a couple of days off this weekend, which is almost never done before the Iowa caucuses. You've said you're doing well in Iowa. Everybody accepts that. Candidly, do you expect to win on Tuesday?
You know, I really don't know.
What do you think?
Well, I'm going to come in, I think, first or second, but, you know, I just don't ever make those kind of bold predictions,
Right.
say, oh, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, because I really don't know. But if I did come in fifth or sixth, you know, that would be a real shocker.
Well,
so I'm going to do well, but to predict, I just don't know.
Okay, if you should come in first, all Republican candidates are for cutting spending, they're for reducing taxes, they're for eliminating Obamacare. What message would a Paul victory send?
Well, then I'm serious, because
Right.
they haven't proposed any cuts. Nobody in Washington, Republicans or Democrats, or the other candidates, there's no serious cuts. They're only talking about token cuts on proposed increases, you know, 10 years out, because they all accept baseline budgeting. I want actually cuts. I want to cut $1 trillion.
So you think the message would be that the others are too tepid?
Well, that the people saw through it, that,
Right.
they were part of the status quo, and they didn't offer anything differently. Foreign policy would be same, the Federal Reserve policy would be same, spending policies would be the same, deficits don't matter, it would be all the same thing.
And that's true of the other six candidates, right?
Oh, I think so. I don't
Yeah.
see any actual cuts.
One of your rivals, Newt Gingrich, in criticizing you, said your views were offensive to every, quote, decent, end quote, American. He couldn't support you if you were the nominee. Could you support him if he were the nominee?
Oh, I'd probably have trouble, because I've sort of been asked that question, and I would say I'd have to see how the candidate comes around to accepting these views. If the policies of the Republican Party are same as the Democrat Party, and they don't want to change anything on foreign policy, they don't want to cut anything, they don't want to audit the Fed and find out about monetary policy, they don't want to have actual, you know, change in government, that is a problem for
But you'd
me.
have trouble supporting Gingrich. Does it offend you when he says that the decent Americans?
You know, I guess after you've been in this business for a while, you know, you don't have time to be offended. Of course, nobody likes it, you know.
Yeah.
People, you know, you have a conscience. People don't like to be attacked, but to be offended and upset, you just sort of shrug it off and say it's politics as usual.
Congressman, you have consistently said that you have no intention or interest in a third party or independent candidacy. Is there anything that could happen in the months ahead that could conceivably cause you to at least rethink that?
No, not really. You know, I've never been an absolutist and say absolutely
Right.
might or absolute will, but I have no intention of doing it, but I can't imagine it.
But if the party ignored you and didn't nominate you, would that, and didn't pay attention to your views?
Right now, I would say that I don't think about it, because just like you pointed out, we're doing pretty well in the polls.
You said a minute ago that you would have trouble supporting Newt Gingrich. You've also criticized some of your other opponents, including Mr. Gingrich, Michelle Bachmann, Rick Santorum, Rick Perry. But in researching this, you've almost never criticized your co-leader in Iowa, Mitt Romney. Why?
Well, some of the ads have, you know, we've
But not like Gingrich.
You know, we've accused him of this vicious term that he flip-flops. You know, so we have done that.
That's not as bad as being a serial hypocrite.
Well, we could call him a serial flip-flopper then.
Do you find Mitt Romney less objectionable than some of the others, or no difference?
I think he has a decorum that's different. He's a little bit more diplomatic, I think, in the way he handles things. I don't think he has, you know, convictions that, you know, come close to mine. But I think he probably understands how the market works as a businessman a little bit better than a guy like Gingrich does, you know, and the people who have never been in business. So But I see him. I put them all in the same category. They all are part of the status quo.
But you said you would have trouble supporting Gingrich. Could the same thing be said of Romney?
I think so. I've said that about all the candidates. I'd want to know what evolves and what kind of platform they have, and whether by that time they're willing to say, yes, it is time to come home from Afghanistan. Matter of fact, Mitt said that one time in our first debate, and I thought, well, boy, he sounds like maybe he should bring troops home. But then again, I think he decided, well, you have to be more hawkish in the Republican primary, so he hasn't talked that way again. So I'd wait and see.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about the controversies regarding some of the bigoted rantings and newsletters, which you explained was others that you don't associate with. But you did author a book one time that said that people who are sexually harassed in the workplace ought to simply quit their jobs. Do you believe there should be no legal recourse for people who are sexually harassed?
Well, maybe, but people, that's a vague thing, sexual harassment. That means there's abuse. I think it shows, real bad behavior. I'm not sure if I was working in a place and people were ridiculing me and that was the boss, I don't think I'd want to work there. But I don't think there's any place for the average person who feels that they have been, a bad joke was told in front of them and they were embarrassed and their feelings were hurt, that it's a federal offense, that you have a federal law dealing with this. I think political correctness is something that has gone wild. I mean, it's out of control.
Let me ask you one more. You are not a bigot. I think anyone who knows you will say that. But what upsets some people is that while you disassociate yourself from the anti-Semitic and the racial hate, there's no sense of outrage or revulsion. Are you outraged by some of those things people said?
Yeah, but I take it in the context, I'm outraged by so many things. I'm outraged by some of our foreign policy, but I also have to take it into context. What I can't change, I can't do much about.
Right.
You have to sort of understand that. So I'm outraged by an awfully lot. I'm outraged by our economic system, which is sticking it to the middle class and bailing out the rich. I'm outraged with our foreign policy that is destroying lives and undermining our national defense. So there's a lot of things that I'm outraged about, and I want to do something about it, and that's why I talk about monetary policy. But things, personality-wise and character assassinations, yeah, I'm annoyed with it. I don't like it. But all I can do is, civil liberties, I'm the best civil libertarian ever running in recent years because I'm condemning the unfairness of the enforcement of our drug laws.
Speaking of liberties, we have to get you to your Sioux Center town hall. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. And when we come back, we'll talk to Bloomberg reporters on the trail in Iowa.